Hello, and we can start because as it is usually with live videos, people join in their own time, but then we post those videos on our fan pages, on my fan page and on my guest fan page, and also on my YouTube channel. And I believe you also have your own YouTube channel. So then people can, of course, watch the full video and the full discussion. So maybe I will begin with introducing myself, then I allow you to introduce yourself, and we will move on to the questions. And then as we have guests joining, we can also look at the comments and answer questions. So my name is Ania. I am a holistic health coach for women. I work mostly with busy professional women. And what holistic health coaching is about supporting women in improving their well-being and their health. We are working on addressing the key pillars of our lives. So it would be nutrition, physical movement, sleep and relaxation, but also detoxification, things like this. So it's very much 360 approach to health and well-being. And what I do in my profession is I believe in networking very much, and I link to professionals, other professionals in health and wellness. And I try to connect my clients also to those people, because obviously different people require different things to improve their well-being. So today we have with us Renata, who can help women with relaxation, perhaps I should say, relaxation, but also physical side of things, right? So this is why we are saying that the title of today's live is about how yoga can help with physical and emotional side of things when it comes to well-being. And specifically, we will be discussing well-being of women. So Renata, thank you very much for joining. Thank you for your time. And also thank you so very much for being so flexible tonight, because I am actually reporting live from Lake District in Poland, from holiday. I wanted to stick to 2 weeks routine, and obviously we started this live a little bit earlier. I hope people are not very much bothered by this. So Renata, over to you for a short introduction, and we will move on to the questions.
So thank you very much for inviting me, Ania. I'm very happy that I found like a like-minded soul here in Portugal, and then we can have interested conversation like today. So hello everyone, I'm a qualified yoga and meditation teacher and creator of Shape of Harmony. And I started to practice yoga more or less 15 years ago. And for the last 4 years, I've been teaching yoga, running retreats and different workshops in different continents all around the world. So I was so privileged to do it, but it wasn't the case all my life. I worked in corporation for 10 years. So basically, I was dividing my life between what I love the most, what I'm passionate about, which is helping to improve holistic health through yoga, and what was allowing me to pay my bills. And then from one day to another, I just decided that I don't want to work in the corporate world anymore. I just really want to put my whole energy and attention and effort towards really devoting my life to yoga. So I quit corporation. I moved to India. I went to India to do my yoga teacher's training qualification, and then I decided to move to Australia. And in Australia, my dearest child, Shape of Harmony, was born. And I decided to concentrate, like you mentioned before, on the emotional and mental health, and how yoga is helping to decrease our stress and anxiety levels and improve our emotional and mental resilience. And I started to work with the Australian Mental Health Commission, with the Red Cross, with other non-for-profit organizations that were offering services for refugees with trauma. And as a former corporate worker, I also wanted to really approach employees in corporations. So I was creating different wellness programs, stress management workshops for employees. And here I am now in Portugal, moved here recently, so hopefully I can share my passion and help people in Europe.
Perfect. Thank you so very much for this thorough introduction. It's really nice to also understand your background. So I will move on to the questions. The core topic of our discussion will be, as I mentioned, how we can improve our emotional and physical well-being through yoga. So Renata, what do you believe is this common denominator in people that something that's common that attracts people to yoga, and what also attracted you to yoga? And what I observed, I spent 17 years living in London, and I observed that definitely in the last decade, the popularity of yoga just, expanded, if that's the right word, but it really has been growing very rapidly in the last 10 years. So what would you say about this?
Well, I have to say, like nowadays, nothing's simple anymore, and stress is our everyday companion, and we feel overwhelmed and anxious, and we don't even know why we feel anxious anymore. And we are just trapped in our monkey mind that produces 1,000 thoughts a minute, over-analyzing, overthinking, and we don't feel grounded, we don't feel calm. And on top of that, we are all guilty of overly sedentary lifestyle. So we start to really suffer from lower back pain, tight hip flexors, tight hamstrings. So I think that nowadays people are looking for a holistic, like an overall method that will allow us to approach not only the physical side, but also the mental and emotional. And I believe that yoga really offers that. So it's not only boosts our, builds our muscles and improves our flexibility, but also promises to decrease our stress levels and really build this emotional and mental resilience.
Okay. So hearing what you just described, no wonder that yoga is increasing or has increased in its popularity so much. Because yes, stress is our everyday friend nowadays, and people more and more also are looking for this, as you explained, holistic approach. So not only body, but also mind, not only mind, but also body. Okay, so in this case, please tell me how yoga perceives the idea of wellness. What is yoga's philosophy behind the well-being?
Well, I think again the word holistic. I think we're going to come back to this word very often, and I think that according to yoga philosophy, we go really deeply, and the subject is quite complicated, but also very interesting for me. And here I wanted to talk about something called kosha. So according to yoga philosophy, we do have different layers of our body. And in order to achieve the, the wellness, the optimal health, the wellness state, we have to keep each layer of the body at the balance, keep it healthy. And just imagine of it as a circles, and there are 5 different circles, 5 different layers. So the most outer circle is our physical body, it's our food body. So basically here we want to nourish our body with healthy food, have enough sleep, have enough rest, exercise, so building, keeping our body at a good fitness level, building our muscles, improving our flexibility. So basically anything that you might think of the physical, the tangible. When you go a little bit deeper, we are looking at the second layer, one's a little bit more subtle. Here we are talking about the pranamaya kosha, so it's our energetic body. So apart from keeping our physical body healthy, we want to keep our energy flowing. And we want to also, because I've listened to your other live video when you talk about how a disease can manifest itself because there is some sort of energetic blockage. So here we are talking about the same. We really want the energy to flow freely. And in yoga, we use pranayama. And prana, breathing exercises, but for us, prana is the vital life force. It's basically, this is the source of any creation. And you can improve the energy flow by so many other techniques as well, like Tai Chi, like acupressure, acupuncture, different type of massages. And I think it's also important that we will concentrate on keeping positive energy, surround ourselves with positive people, trying to really cultivate the thoughts that have a higher vibration. So, for example, any positive thoughts of gratitude, affirmations, and different type of positive visualizations, they also improve our energy flow. So from the energetic body, we are moving to the third kosha, which is actually mental body. So think of logical and intellectual, and maybe dealing with negative thought patterns, dealing with limiting beliefs, dealing with our stress levels in order to have a better clarity of thinking. So going a little bit deeper from this logical mental thinking process into the gut feeling. And we all have that. We are just not everyone as clearly connected to that subtle body. And I've experienced so many times situation when I was deciding to do something and I didn't know whether my voice of intuition is telling me to do something or maybe my fears. So sometimes it's quite difficult to really understand what your intuition is telling you. And in order to keep that layer of the body healthy, we should concentrate on the previous three. So keeping our physical body healthy, trying to deal with some sort of energetic blockages, and trying to release our fears in order to have our good mental clarity. And going to the last layer, it's something called a bliss body. And I love this in the yoga tradition because our natural state of being is being in a bliss, is being joyful, is being happy. And we are all able to achieve that state. And basically, in this kosha, we want to connect and understand that there is something greater and bigger than us, and that in some way everything in universe is interconnected. So it can be anything from a god, Buddha, religion, doesn't really matter if you want to achieve nirvana or pure consciousness. It's about just realizing that, like I said, there's something bigger and greater than us. And I really love the description because it shows the complexity of human being. And it's not all about, eating a healthy food or having a good night's sleep in order to have a great wellness level. And yoga really touches and is able to work on any layer. Like, for example, through asanas, we work on our physical body. Through pranayamas, we are trying to release any energetical blockages, also working on our mental and emotional resilience, going deep into the meditation when you really want to connect to something deeper than us.
Okay, no, perfect. Obviously, again, it's kind of very comprehensive, right? Explanation of things, because this is what yoga is. People sometimes think that yoga is all about doing an om or some fancy poses, but actually it's much greater and more complex than this. And again, I like yoga. I'm a yoga enthusiast for a couple of reasons. As a holistic coach, I am an enthusiast of yoga because it's a holistic linking to holistic. And another thing is, certainly I am also a certified personal trainer. I'm not only a health coach. And as a speaking now, as a certified personal trainer, I can tell that my experience with exercise is, and I have been very guilty of this myself, is that very many people go for something that we nowadays describe as chronic cardio. So something that actually very often puts a lot of stress, both physical and sometimes even emotional, on our body, okay? Because we do too much, we push ourselves too much. So yoga exercise is something that I encourage my clients to do. I want people to engage in this sort of exercise because I believe that it really helps your physical body a lot, and it's it strengthens your body, but it's very kind for our body. So would you agree with this statement? And what advice would you give to people that are about considering maybe to start practicing yoga as form of exercise? Now we are talking physical exercise.
Well, I can definitely agree with you that yoga has a much more kinder approach towards the body. And when you go into the philosophy, when you read the Patanjali's Yamas, this is the guideline about yoga, the first rule actually says, do not harm. That in Sanskrit translates into ahimsa. So it's a non-violent attitude. So basically, we should practice yoga in the safest way possible, moving slowly, being connected with our breath, respecting our body limitations, and really connecting to this intuitive voice and trying to understand what is good, what is bad, what is good pain, what is bad pain. With the regular practice, we're gonna build a greater body awareness that will allow us to understand when we are pushing our body too much, when we are going over the edge. And so definitely it's a very self-compassionate, self-respectful and self-loving approach. And I can see it when I start running classes for beginners, for example. A lot of people that, for example, are not flexible or not very patient, they tend to push their body into asanas. They tend to not connect their breath and their body in the beginning. But then listening to my cues and with the practice from session to session, I can just see such a difference, such an improvement. They can really understand that our body is where the soul resonates, and we really need to respect it. And they start to breathe, start to let go, and so I can see this beautiful transition. But I would say that, from my perspective, I don't look at yoga just from the physical aspect. So I would say that I would always recommend to try it, because for me it's just the most transformational and healing method that really works on any level, including the physical that you mentioned.
Exactly. And I think that even though we discussed the fact that yoga is such a, comprehensive form of exercise in a sense of it being mental, emotional, and physical, I would like to stick to physical for a moment longer, because let's not pretend that us women are very interested in improving the looks of our body. Call us vain, but we are a little bit. So women will also want to know what they can expect from practicing yoga. Imagine that now they start practicing, and what to expect. Will I become slimmer, leaner, more toned, all of the above? What can you tell us? How did your body change since you started practicing yoga?
So I have to say that I noticed this misconception sometimes, that people think that, yes, you're going to come to a yoga class, you're going to be sitting cross-leg position and meditate, or you're going to do a few stretching exercises that will not really be any physical workout. And it's just quite funny to observe their faces at the end of the practice when they really realize that poses are quite challenging, because we are improving the strength of our body. And I'm talking about the deep stabilizing muscles. It's very important for women, for example, because we work a lot on our pelvic floor area. We work a lot on our core muscles, the transversus abdominis muscles. We work on the muscles around joints that are also stabilizing. So as a consequence, yes, you do have your body more lean, you feel more slim, feel more strong, and it obviously empowers you emotionally, mentally as well. But I have to say that yoga was not designed to be fat loss or weight loss best method. So whenever you see this kind of advertisements, yoga for weight loss, I would kind of treat it with a little bit of a reserve. But definitely my body become much stronger, especially when you're trying to do some more challenging poses. You're really working on totally new ways of using the muscles, and you don't even realize that you had some sort of muscles. And yoga offers such a variety of movement that sometimes when you just do exactly the same, training all the time. Your body gets used to the certain movements, and the training cannot be as effective. Whereas in yoga, especially in dynamic vinyasa, you have such a thousands and thousands of asanas, and each
Absolutely.
practice looks very different, and that's why it brings so many additional physical benefits.
Benefits. Yes, and again, speaking as a personal trainer, I am a fan of variety of exercise. Okay, so I believe that we should do, strength exercise, body weight exercise. Sometimes do sprints if we can. Weights, yoga. I'm a huge fan of course, as well. So, what I would like you, Renata, as an expert here to tell us is for those people that practice variety of exercise, can they expect that actually yoga can support them to, in a sense of getting better, stronger at other forms of exercise? Imagine that one is a runner. Can they benefit from doing yoga at the same time?
So when it comes to talking about the correlation of yoga and different type of exercises, like I mentioned before, yoga is improving the awareness of our body. So we're not going to push ourselves too much. In this way, we can avoid the risk of potential injuries while doing other form of activity. So I think this one is very important. And you mentioned runners, and I think that not only runners, but cyclists or people that are lifting weights or doing some sort of cardio or high intensity training, they don't put enough attention, and they don't spend enough time on stretching the muscles that they worked on. And this causes tightness around muscles. And again, in the future, it might cause potential injuries. So I would say that yoga can be a great supplementary, complementary practice when we really, really concentrate on improving the flexibility, improving the range of the movement. And in Australia, I was actually running private yoga classes for personal trainers. And for them, what was the most important? Obviously, the priority was to build their muscle mass. But in a consequence, they lost mobility, and they couldn't even, bring the hand and touch the biceps to their ear. So we are really working on their hamstrings, on their tight glutes, on their tight quads. And I have to tell you, they struggled a little bit because they didn't expect that, how it's going to look like, and it's going to be so challenging. And you can also see it's quite popular now, all this combo, yoga and surf, yoga and diving. So obviously we can practice a certain type of poses in order to improve our effectiveness in our type of physical activity. So for example, for a surfer, he needs to have a great sense of balance. He needs to have very strong core, and he needs to have strong muscles because he's swimming a lot. For the diver, he needs to be aware of their breathing patterns and still being able to breathe deeply and slowly even while swimming. So yoga can beautifully, again, and complement these type of activities.
Yes, we actually have a comment here from a surfer who I successfully managed to convert into a yoga lover. And he definitely
Yeah.
noticed what you said, Renata. One thing is that yoga is not just sitting and breathing, but sweating a lot, and also that it improves certainly the flexibility, the core strength, and it helps to stretch the body. So fantastic. I would also say here that again, I did all forms of exercise in the past, and I used to be a devoted runner. And then going to yoga class was very settling and nourishing for both body and mind. I certainly recommend it, especially for women, because women have a tendency to get into this in this sort of situations when we kind of get so absorbed by certain sort of exercise that we forget to kind of catch our breath and ground ourselves. So my next question will be now, let's go on to, because again, this is mainly directed to women, this discussion, but not only. Let's talk about mental and emotional side of things, okay? So again, how can yoga support us in this? Because we know that this is such a huge part of our life. We would all like to be more grounded, calmer, more emotionally resilient, if you like. How can we expect that yoga can help us with this?
So I'm going to come back to what I just said, that yoga builds a body awareness. And when we are more aware what is happening with our physical body, we are becoming actually more aware what kind of thought patterns we have, and we can name better our emotions. And in this way, you can control your emotions and your thoughts in a better way. And obviously, if you're controlling your mind, you can control your life better. So this is the first aspect. The second aspect is especially if you're practicing more challenging poses. So you are learning your body to, you know, to really try to work towards that pose and be persistent and become motivated. And you can treat it as a metaphor to different challenging life circumstances. So you're teaching your body how to breathe and how to react also in more challenging situations in life.
Mm-hmm. No, fantastic. And again, I can only kind of confirm that this is real and this is true. So I encourage women who haven't had a chance to try yoga yet to give it a go, because it really helps us to again to take a nice deep breath and become more aware of what kind of connection of body and mind. Okay, Renata, we also know that, you know, pretty much all of us go through something more or less traumatic in our life, but you know, certain things touch us on some sort of level, right? I hear that yoga is also good in terms of helping with traumas, right? So is this, and you've mentioned that working in Australia with mental health institutions.
Yes.
So what is your observation in this aspect?
Well, we are constantly talking about the mind and body connection. So we know that our emotional and mental state influences our physical body. So let's just, for example, think about stress. When we are stressed, we are breathing more shallow, more quick. Our heart rate is increased. Sometimes we have tension-based headaches. It has negative influence on our immune system, digestive system, on our hormonal level as well. So let's just reverse that. I would say that sometimes putting our physical body in a certain positions can have emotional and mental influence. And sometimes when I run the class that are the hip opening classes, for example, heart opening classes, and sometimes I mention, oh, you can start to experience different type of emotions. So just, try to stay open, breathe through it. And I sometimes see, that their eyes opening bigger and bigger, and they might be thinking, oh my God, she's talking some voodoo hippie yoga stuff. But it really works like that. And we tend to store different type of junk emotions, including traumas, around our pelvis and hip level. So basically, whenever you're going through some sort of hip opening asana, it can open up and release some sort of emotion. Especially, for example, if you're practicing
It
yoga, when
reminds
you're
me,
saying,
I'm cutting in here, but you really reminded me of a class I attended in London once with a teacher who came from India. And he actually, part of his class was about this, about releasing traumas. And I remember that after this practice, this part of practice, many people were crying, found themselves crying, tearful. And they were asking him even, what was this about? I really didn't expect to cry. And he was explaining what you are saying, that our body stores those emotions. We very often put certain things at the very back of our mind. We kind of distance ourselves from these feelings and certain memories. And yes, this is why I decided to ask you this question, because I did remember something very, very kind of not very well about this. But now that you started speaking, I did remember that class.
Times that classes sometimes start to laugh with no particular reason or cry with no particular reason, and actually hip opening sequences are my favorite sequences because I do experience this release very often, and after I feel so extremely liberated and rejuvenated and lighter on my soul. So I think it's, again, just trusting the process, and we don't really have to understand everything in order to make it work. And like I said in the beginning about the different layers of our body, so yoga really works on that emotional subtle layer as well.
Okay. So Renata,
And what I've noticed as well,
no, please
just
continue.
one thing what I just thought about now is I think that the natural tendency of our body is to be healthy and to heal itself. So sometimes when we go through the physical poses, physical asanas during the yoga practice, there are different emotional and mental states that surface and give us an opportunity to address them. So by healing the physical body, the mental and emotional aspect comes out. So I think, again, it's a great opportunity to really address different bodies according to yoga philosophy and heal on a deeper layer as well.
That's really lovely. And apologies because we seem to be experiencing some sort of delay. So I jumped in when you were still speaking. Apologies for this. Linking again to this emotional side of things, mental side of things, and you've mentioned at the very beginning that stress obviously seems to be, we all know, seems to be very much present in our lives at the moment. What I have noticed is that a lot of people do one common, I would even go as far as to say mistake. So people feel stressed emotionally, and this obviously really impacts our body at physical level, and then they want to release stress by doing a lot of hard exercise. So imagine people would go on a long run. Obviously certain things then happen in our body, and endorphins are being released, and of course we seem to be feeling slightly better. But actually, if you really look at what happens to that body, if you were to really kind of look under, let's say, microscope at our cells, we all that we have done is stressed ourselves even more. Okay. So with yoga, I believe that yoga has a different kind of solution and answer to this, right? That when you are already stressed by going to yoga practice, you are not at risk of kind of increasing that stress level at, let's say, cellular level of your body. Is that correct?
Well, I think that regular yoga practice allows us to really understand that sometimes what we need the most is not what we want the most. And it's all about respecting, every day is different. For example, when I'm running private classes, every class, every single day with every single client is different depending on what, like you mentioned, stress level they had this particular day. So it really allows us to adjust, and I think what is very important in yoga is that we put a lot of emphasis on breath, on our respiratory system, on our breathing patterns. And actually, breath is the best tool to manage and control our nervous system. And we have access to this tool at any time, at any point. And only bringing the awareness into our breath, it actually slows it down naturally. And like I mentioned before, how yogis are looking at breath, like I found fascinating as well. So we imagine that you don't have the exact amount of years in your life, but you have an exact amount of breaths in your life. Like, how would you breathe then, right? So when you're going to be taking long, slow, deep inhales, we are actually just happening on wave level. Our beta waves that are like very anxious or active or stressed, changing into the alpha waves. So again, only by managing our breathing patterns. And also, what yoga is teaching us is to be more mindful. It means be more in the present moment because we are the human beings and not the human doings. So, when we are stuck in our mind, we are either recalling, thinking about our past or worrying about the future. We are not really enjoying the present moment. So, yoga is teaching us how to be here, how to be now, how to get out of the mind into the body and really enjoy it. And then the stress levels will go naturally down.
Mm-hmm. Amazing again, right? Because this is why, as a health coach, I'm such a huge fan of yoga, because as a health coach, I strongly believe that we should approach things very holistically. There is not one thing that can fix us. Sometimes we don't know what improves our well-being or what improves our health. It's very hard to pinpoint this one thing. Some people claim that by certain way of eating or certain way of cooking, you can change your health. Probably the belief about it even plays bigger role in this than that cooking act. But the overall, what really kind of is amazing about yoga, I would say, is that, as you mentioned, Renata, is that, and this is why I think that it has such a big role in improving, especially health of women, that it is about being kind to your body when you do physical exercise, being able to see the changes that are happening with your body or within your body, but then you are also becoming kinder to yourself. You start breathing better, therefore your stress levels go down. You are able to heal certain traumas from your past, so that again brings the anxiety and stress level down. And also, you know, the fact that again we are overall kind of more aware of what is happening and around us. So I would really encourage those of you that haven't tried with yoga yet. For those that live in Lisbon area, you can obviously meet Renata in person, and for others, if you can link to your local teachers for practice, and really give it a go. But Renata, what I tend to do with these interviews, if you like, with health and wellness experts, is that I try to give people obviously ideas of how they can improve their health and well-being. Okay, so last time we spoke about acupuncture, now we are talking about yoga. Understandably, not all people are going to try all these things. It's for people to see what resonates with them most and then choose for themselves. I would even say that people should not only think what resonates with them most, but should give it a go. Try one yoga class and see how you
Yes,
feel.
definitely
Because
agree with you.
perception versus reality are, as we know, are two different things. So what I would like to do now, Renata, is to ask you, like I ask my other guests, to leave our viewers, those that are watching live, and thank you for being here with us, and also those that will be watching video recording, to leave us with 3 tips. So some tips that you can give people that would tips that can be implemented straight away, like they wake up tomorrow morning, start a new day, and they can straight away, something that is linked to yoga but doesn't require necessarily to run to yoga class and paying for the class, buying a mat, and so on and so forth. What would you say could be these 3 tips?
So first of all, I think that you summarize the benefits of yoga in a very beautiful way. So hopefully we will be able to encourage more people to join at least one class and see again what you said, if this really resonates with them. When it comes to 3 tips, what I think what is very important to being able to press the pause button in life. It means that it can be just a few minutes a day. Either it is taking a few deeper inhales, or just maybe going for a short walk, or doing some sort of mindful exercises. So what I'm talking about, it can be like drinking coffee, but really drink the coffee, looking at the color and smelling, the tasting and smelling, and using all your senses, not at the same time, being on your phone, on social media. Be really into this one particular moment. And second tip, I would say that practicing yoga, but not in a way that you just mentioned, or you have to go to a yoga class that it's 60 minutes or cost this amount of money. Like in my case, sometimes I have 5 minutes meditation, sorry. Sometimes I just go for a mindful walk around the park. Sometimes I just do like the morning scan of the body. So I'm waking up, I'm trying not to reach my phone straight away. I just take a few inhales and exhales and just see, how do I feel today? Like, is there any particular part of my body that feels tense? Being again more in your body, less in your mind. And the third tip, probably not really related to yoga, but I would say just have fun. So find some sort of activity that brings out this childlike, joyful, happy, something that makes your soul sing, and just do this for pure pleasure with no other reason. So yeah, I would say that probably these 3 tips. I'm struggling myself to implement them, but I just remember about them, especially the last one. Just 2 things for fun is very important.
But I would argue that even the third one is very much connected to yoga, because I found myself, so I'm a huge fan of Ashtanga yoga, and I try to practice it at least 3 times a week, and I practice on my own usually. And sometimes um, I feel like I am being a little bit lazy. I don't really want to do this, but I know how I will feel after the class. The practice. I want to do it. So then I say to myself, you know what, step on the mat and have fun. Let's just have fun about it, okay? So this is why I say that fun is very much connected, because, we strive to perform perfect yoga poses, but certain poses are very difficult. But if we say, okay, this is the fun bit here, what I'm trying to do with my body, it really works. So
Fully agree.
this is great. So I really hope, Renata, that with this conversation about yoga, we managed to convince or inspire at least a few women to try yoga, to give it a go, to maybe go back to yoga if they did it before and stopped practicing. I really, as I said before, my aim is to kind of pass to all women a message that we can really greatly improve our well-being on our own. I mean, on our own, meaning that just reaching out to resources available and searching for that thing that can really, again, resonate with us. And I believe that yoga is something that is a very good form of exercise for women. And Renata, thank you so very much, because I really think that you did manage to pass this information about what yoga can do for women. We had some glitches, technical glitches through this video, so sometimes your voice
Yes,
was
sorry
cutting
for
off.
my connection.
I hope that this was only on the live recording and that the video will be fine. So those people that joined us slightly later in the session, please try to rewatch the video when you have time. And obviously, Renata, thank you, Helena, thank you so much. And obviously, Renata, when we review the video and we decide that it's really hard to follow, I hope it's not, but we can maybe decide to either re-record it or do another session. But thank you so much. Thank you for all the girls for joining, because this is really nice to see that that people are here with us. It's very encouraging. And I will be back in 2 weeks' time with a new guest. But in the meantime, if you have any questions regarding what we have been discussing here, please put them in the comment section. We will be more than happy to answer them. And this video will be posted on our fan pages and on our YouTube channels. It will be there to stay. So thank you so much, Renata, for your time tonight. And thank you to all joining.
Thank you very much for.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you very much for inviting me. Take care. Bye bye.